Roland, the point I'm trying to make here is that you can, and probably some of us should, evaluate the competing policies of Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. But mostly we have to not lose sight of the fact that this is about democracy versus authoritarianism. This is about wacky, weird stuff versus normalcy.
It's actually about common sense versus entertainment. The rapper Plies dropped a video yesterday, and he said it. He said media wants Vice President Kamala Harris to offer us policies and prescriptions. They want entertainment from Donald Trump. And we have to own up to this. We have to understand what media has done in allowing Trump to do what he has done since 2011. People played into his birtherism. But we also got to go back to the Tea Party. They want chaos, tear it all down. Then you get Freedom Caucus. And so what you have arrived at, you have a lot of people in this country who say, all this is awful, tear it down, let's get rid of it. And so they see Donald Trump as the person who can come through as a bowling ball and just destroy everything. And it appeals to them. So when he makes these crazy comments, they go, yeah, that's what we want. But it's unrealistic. And those of us in media have to be willing to call a thing a thing. For the longest, we wouldn't even say he lies. And so we have to be far more stronger in speaking truth. And unfortunately, too many media folks want Trump back in, so their ratings go up, they get more clicks, and their revenue goes up. And we have to call that thing what it is.
But as you know, Roland, I've said for years, I would take 0 ratings and a peaceful democratic country that doesn't require all this kind of news. Stuart, something happened last week. There was a thing that you guys put out from the Lincoln Project, which has gone viral, about what could happen to people who are trying to get an abortion even if they cross state lines. It was a dramatic commercial. And you have said this many times on this show and others. You said, if there are policies to lean into, abortion might be one of them. The fall of Roe v. Wade might be one of them, because what that commercial indicated wasn't whether you like abortion or you don't like abortion, it's whether you think women and their families and their doctors should be jailed for it. That's a very distinct matter. That seems to be one of the matters that's going to drive a lot of people to the polls.
Yeah, it's interesting when you think about it. On the Republican side, we attack national health care, Obamacare, on one basic principle, that you didn't want the government to come between you and your doctor. And that resonated a lot with the center-right voters. That same argument now applies to the extremism in a post-Roe v. Wade world, because this is exactly what has happened. You're putting the government there between a woman and her doctor, or family and a doctor. And in the Lincoln Project, we've really looked at a lot of these voters in these key states, and there is a large segment of them who maybe 40% of them are against abortion, but they find this repugnant. They see it taking away what was for 2 generations a constitutional right. And that's anti-conservative. That's something that is a heavy hand of government. And that's, I think, really a lot of what this race is about. It's not typical ideological lines.
Right.
It's about the power of government versus the power of freedom versus individual rights. And it's actually a much more traditionally conservative position to support Harris, because that's where she is versus where my own party's gone.
And I recommend that people look up that ad and watch it and send it to people, because it is the heavy hand of government. It's a police officer who pulls over a father and his daughter and has all the information that this police officer needs to apprehend them and arrest them. Roland, it's not just about calling out Donald Trump's lies. I think it's also about outlining to people that this is a man who deliberately denied and lied about the outcome of the last election and is fully setting the table for that to happen again. So it actually almost might be irrelevant to people if Kamala Harris wins more votes or wins more electoral college votes, because Donald Trump's already setting it up. He's already said everybody in California is getting 7 ballots.
Let me remind people, when he lost to Ted Cruz in Iowa, he called that primary loss rigged as well. That's what he does. People need to understand there is no bottom with Donald Trump. There's no bottom. There's no such thing as, he's hit bottom. It doesn't exist. And so when you're dealing with someone like that, you have to hit them with everything. You cannot play normal politics. So how the campaign of Harris-Walz, they've had a much more aggressive communication strategy than Biden-Harris did in terms of how they're going at him. And so that's what you must do. Also, I think what the campaign has to do is also expand this idea in terms of how you're talking to people. Absolutely, abortion, reproductive rights is a critical issue. Reverend William Barber talks a lot about the fact that you got 140 million poor and working poor in America. 73 million are women. So when you're talking those economic issues, actually say it. Actually say poor and working poor and how we want to be able to affect folks with a $15 living wage, because it's an economic issue. And 66 million of those people are white. And they're 30-40% of the electorate, and no one talks to them. And so Trump will never say that. But you have to juxtapose, we're going to impact real people, working people, versus somebody who only cares about the rich. You cannot get sucked into his drama. So that's why when she said next question was so important, because he wants a race conversation.
Right.
He wants a gender conversation. The key is don't give him what he wants.
And Stuart, some people like presidential debates, some people don't, but I think everybody in the world is going to tune into this next one because the last one was so consequential. What do you think about this whole concept? Kamala Harris does not seem to take Donald Trump's bait. He tries a whole lot. He pronounces her name incorrectly. He makes lewd comments about her. He insults her intelligence. She just doesn't seem to take it.
Look, if I was giving a debate to Vice President Harris, I would say do what you've done for years, which is prosecute him.
Yep.
That's a very natural position. We've never had a moment like this in American history where there's two candidates on stage. One is a prosecutor and one is a criminal. Think about it. I mean, this guy is a guy from Queens, Adam Bale, is running for president as a Republican nominee. We shouldn't lose sight of that. And usually the most aggressive candidate who can control themselves and do it correctly wins a debate. So I would look at it as arguments before a jury. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to show tonight why Donald Trump is unqualified to be president and why he's a danger to the United States of America and the American experiment. And then at the end, I think you wrap it up and you go, tonight we have seen why. And I would use that as a thread for the whole debate. And I think it will drive Donald Trump absolutely crazy because he doesn't know how to respond to it.
Guys, thanks very much for kicking us off this morning. Roland Martin is the host of the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show, is the author of White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. Stuart Stevens is a senior advisor with the Lincoln Project. He's the author of The Conspiracy to End America, 5 Ways My Old Party is Driving Our Democracy to Autocracy. And look up that new Lincoln Project ad about abortion. It'll keep you riveted.